This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 19, helping your teen become their best self with empowering questions.
This is going to be a good one. I can just feel it, Abby. I hope it's helpful to our parents that are listening. I think it's so important just to start off with none of us like to be told what to do, right? None of us want someone to be like, hey, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to solve this problem, and give, like to hear all this advice of how we should navigate any situation. None of us really like that unless we ask for it, right? But especially our teens, they don't want us parents, even though we are so wise, to be telling them every little choice to make and how to navigate things because our teens, they're in this process where they're learning to adult and they need to figure things out for themselves. So as a parent, I think it's really important that we ask empowering questions so that our teen can become their best self. And why it's so important for our teens to make their own decisions and us to have those reflective, empowering questions is because when our teens make their own choices and they solve their own problems, it actually builds their self-esteem and self-confidence. If we're solving the problem, if we're telling them what to do, they actually have a sense of insecurity and self-doubt because they think they can't do it on their own. They need us as their parents to help them with every decision. And so asking them empowered questions to turn it back to them is so important. As I'm talking, I'm realizing I haven't even really told our listeners what an empowered question is. So maybe we should go backwards to that. So there are two kinds of questions we ask, and there's disempowering questions. Those usually look like, why is this happening to me? That just disempowers us. It shuts us down. It doesn't help find solutions or resolution. Versus empowering questions, which help us find answers and direction to move forward. That would be instead of, why is this happening to me? How is this happening for me? And then our brain starts to come up with ideas. So, as parents, when we ask empowering questions so that our kids can learn how to be their best selves and learn how to make decisions and navigate things to build their self confidence and self esteem, we're asking things like, oh, what are you going to do with that? Is they're telling us about a problem they're having at school? What do you think you're going to do that with that? How are you going to handle that? And you're asking them empowering questions so their wheels start turning up in their heads and they start to have ideas. Now, a lot of times teenagers will kind of just shut down. I don't know. I don't know. That I don't know is they don't want to use that brain power yet. But it's just like, okay, well, I'm sure you're going to figure it out. I'm excited to hear how you figure out this problem. We're still turning it back to them. We're empowering them with these statements and these questions, giving them the confidence that they can solve these problems.
I was thinking back to my days when I was teaching seminary, and I remember sometimes my students would ask like, why do bad things happen to good people, or why do we get these trials, or what did I do to deserve this, or what do you think God is trying to teach me? And I'd just be like, I don't know if I would like spend a lot of time in that area just because there's not there's not an answer. You could spin on that for forever. One of my favorite philosophers, Jim Rohn, he used to say, there's some people studying, the roots, and then there's some people picking the fruit. And you want to be somebody picking the fruit, right? And with what you're saying, I view that as we could spin forever and wax very eloquent on, why do I think this happened to me, or what did I do wrong? But those are endless, bottomless pits. Like there's really no reason to go there, even though all of our brains want to, and I can get stuck there. But I love your idea of we can help by just shifting our questions, shifting our ideas to get us thinking in a way that actually leads to action and actually leads to us accepting and moving forward. And so I was just thinking about that and how it's so easy to just get caught into, studying the roots and studying, why is this happening to me instead of lurking and going, okay, where do I go from here? Or what would I like to do?
Or what's next? Or how can I find a solution to this? Or how can I find resolve? How can I move forward? All those things. And that's what we're helping our teens do is become their best self because they're thinking forward. They're figuring out what's next in their life. They're figuring out a resolution instead of just getting stuck, like you said, in that bottomless pit of just like, they're not going anywhere, they're just spinning. So it is so fun as a parent to direct these questions to them of like, huh, how do you think you're going to solve that? What do you think you're going to do with this? And showing forth that confidence. And I think that takes practice as parents to stop oh, I have a solution for you, or, or oh, you're just being drama. This is no big deal, to what are you going to do with this? And how are you going to solve this problem? And those empowering questions are really, even if your teen says, I don't know, it's still going to be circulating in their head. How am I going to solve this problem? What am I going to do? Instead of the whys, the hows and the whats are going to be more important. How and what do I need to do to make this work for me? Definitely is going to build some self-confidence. And then as parents, trusting the process that they really are going to figure it out. They really are going to find a solution. And the more we trust them with that confidence, it's going to start to work for them and help them show up as their best selves and help them understand they have such great inner wisdom and they learn how to access it instead of us being the oh wise one all the time, that we reflect it back to them and be like, you're really wise. You've had experiences. You know what to do here. Let that inner wisdom come out in them. And I think that's so empowering to them.
Oh, but Cherie, I love being the wise one. I love, like, I've actually had to learn this about myself. I'm like, I love being in charge. I love, having answers. And so that's actually something I've been working on really hard because like just in my own life, I remember telling my husband, I said, "Ugh, I'm just so overwhelmed with all the things I have to do." And like I was like, I'm trying to get all the groceries and plan all the dinners. And he said, "Well, let me do it. I'll plan the groceries and I'll do the dinners this week and we'll just try it." And it was amazing. My first gut reaction was like, no, like I'm in charge of, like I want to control that. And so it can be really hard, speaking for myself here, to let and trust my teenager to do that, right? To say, I know you'll figure out a solution because oftentimes that solution doesn't look like what I thought the solution should be, or, ideas that I might have had. But that's the beauty of the family unit, right? Is we all are so different. We get to learn from each other. And I personally, I'm learning, okay, how do I let go? How do I really do trust somebody else with other things? And it's okay if they have to figure it out a couple times. It's okay to let them adult and to let them do it in the way that maybe I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, let them flounder a little bit, right? Let them, we call it a mistake, but let them learn. I like to call it learning. Mistakes are just really learning. It's not really a problem. But something you said that I think is important is when we're the oh wise one, or we're the ones that come up with the solutions, or we're the ones that do everything. We're making it all about us and building our own self-confidence and our own self-security. And isn't it funny, as adults, we still kind of need that, but we're taking that from our youth. We're taking that from our teens when we're the wise one all the time and we're the ones that come up with the solution. I don't think we realize we're building our own self-confidence and we're actually robbing it from our teens, which is an interesting thing to look at. When I let them be the wise one, when I let them figure out the solution, when I let them kind of have the struggle with it and struggle with, okay, what do I need to do now? Or how does this going to work? That's actually going to build their self-confidence and their self-esteem. And don't I want that for my team? Or am I still so worried about my own self-confidence? Am I kind of still stuck in the high school brain where I need the reassurance that I'm wise and smart?
Yes.
And we make it about us instead of making it about them.
I was thinking of this week, my little guy he came to me and he said, Mom, I want to wear a hat to school. And I don't know about you. I grew up, you couldn't wear hats to school. Like you would get in trouble for that. And so I was like, oh, you can't wear a hat to school. And he's like, no, Mom, I like really want to wear a hat to school. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure there's a rule against it, right? Like me being the wise one, me saying, don't do this. And then finally I was like, hold on, take a step back. Like, I don't even know if that's a rule anymore. And guess what? If it is a rule, his teacher can lovingly tell him, hey, put your hat in your backpack, right? And so then I said, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Like, I really actually don't know that. So if you want to wear your hat to school, you totally can. And guess what, Cheree? It's not even a rule. Kids can wear hats to school now. And so when he got home, I was like, hey, how did it go with your hat? And he said, oh, it was awesome. My teacher loved my hat. And I just thought, well, okay. Like there was me trying to control with my perception of what I'm like, no, you can't do that, right? But I was like, I need to let him have that experience because it's if it's not unsafe, it's not, and if it is a rule, then the right person in the right authority will take care of it, right? So that's like
Mm,
my
right.
baby example of how I'm
No,
trying
I
to.
love that because that really is empowering him and allowing him to become his best self by figuring out what he likes and having that experience. Like you said, the right authority could have corrected that. You didn't need to be the one that had all the wisdom and all the control. And I think that we do that with little kids and we forget to kind of let go of that when they're teens. So I love that example. Well, I hope this is helpful to you parents and that you can practice turning over decisions and solutions and finding that resolution to your teen by asking them questions that will help them start to find that inner wisdom and that solution. I am so excited for you to implement this and practice this. Please join us next time on episode 20 next time, where we're going to talk about how to keep your teens engaged in family activities. I'm sure that's going to be one that you're going to want to listen to.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.